Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, it's the fourth and final day of my long weekend. I go back to work tomorrow, and it's also the first day that we haven't had rain in about 10 days. And the sun is out, it's really hot. I mean, that might not seem that hot, but it's in the upper 80s. The humidity is really high, and you're going to notice now that in the next few weeks and months that I'm going to start focusing more on indoor vlogs, things that I'm not out in the heat so much. So in that light, let's do another episode of Bytes and Nibbles with Breck. This is another family recipe that I'm sharing with you. I don't know who exactly came up with this recipe, but it's in my mom's handwriting. And it's a cranberry-nut coffee cake. And that sounds really good because I'm going back tomorrow to work, and coffee cake sounds really good for breakfast. So here's the ingredients for our cranberry-nut coffee cake. First off, we're going to use some Bisquick, some milk, 1 egg, a little cinnamon, some white sugar, some vanilla extract, some walnuts, some brown sugar, whole cranberries, cranberry sauce with whole cranberries, and some powdered sugar. Let's get going on this. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Now I'm not going to do that now because it takes a little bit longer to prepare a recipe when you're vlogging it than it does for when you're just doing it yourself. So if you're doing it for real, preheat your oven now. I'm going to do that a little later. Now, to be honest with you, when I went to the grocery store to pick up a couple of the supplies I needed for this recipe, I thought for sure I had a 9x9 cooking pan. I can even kind of see it in my head, but when I got home, I couldn't find it. But I did find this disposable foil pan, so I'm going to use that in its place. Guess I'll have to pick up a 9x9 pan at some point. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some cooking spray on the pan, just so nothing sticks. Alright, so I've combined all my dry ingredients, which in this case is a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, which is packed, 1/2 cup of chopped nuts, in this case chopped walnuts. I put them in the food processor to grind them up a little bit. 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 cups of Bisquick, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then I'm just going to kind of beat this all together, mix it all up, and get it nice and mixed together. I want to get all the brown sugar, because you remember that was all kind of packed together. Alright, now once I got all the dry ingredients kind of mixed together, I'm going to pour in 2/3 of a cup of either milk or water. I've elected to go with milk, and 1 egg. And I've already kind of beat it all together in into one mixing cup. And I'm going to mix that together really thoroughly until it's all nice and blended. Alright, that looks pretty good. Normally this is a little easier to do because I usually have 2 hands. I'm not having to handle the camera here, so I'm kind of doing it a little bit weird, having the bowl spin a little bit because I'm not holding onto the bowl with my hands. You got to use your imagination on that one. But I got that nice and mixed. That's a good solid consistency. I don't see any lumps except for the walnuts, which is what should be there. And now I'm going to pour my mixture into my pan here, into my 9x9 pan. Going to use a rubber scraper. I know a lot of you don't like that I use the term rubber scraper. You call this a spatula, but I'm going to call it a rubber scraper. Get every last drop of it out of there. Doesn't look like an awful lot in there, does it? It'll rise. Alright, so I've made a separate mixture of the other half of my almonds, another 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and another 1/4 cup packed of brown sugar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of sprinkle that over the top. This is going to give it the real flavor. Kind of mixed it around just to kind of get it all over the place. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that can of cranberry sauce with the cranberries in it. And we're just going to kind of spread that around all over the top. And now I'm just going to kind of spoon in about 2/3 of a cup of cranberry sauce. This is cranberry sauce with the whole cranberries in it. So I'm just going to kind of mix it all over the top here. Get it spread around a little bit. This will add a nice little tart flavor to it. Should make this really, really nummy. As I'm preparing this, it seems to me I remember my mom making this before, so. I think I'm in for a treat. See, a lot of times on these recipes, I look at things, I look at the ingredients, say, do I love those ingredients? And that's often a determining factor on which one of these that I do. And then we're going to throw this into the oven. Like I said, my oven is already preheated to 400 degrees. I'm going to throw this into the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. And in we go. See you in 25 minutes. Alright, so while we're waiting for that to finish up, we're going to make the frosting that we're going to put on top of the coffee cake when it comes out. And that's going to consist of 1 cup of powdered sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 tablespoon of water. And we are just going to mix that all together. Gotta love powdered sugar, right? Alright, check that out. Does that look good or does that look good? Let's get that out on onto the counter here and put the frosting on it. Yum, yum. Alright, let's put the frosting on it. It says put the frosting on it. Well, it is still hot, so I think I'm just going to, because it's kind of runny enough, I think I'm just going to try pouring it out of the glass. Hang on, I got to switch hands. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to actually let this cool off a little bit because I'm actually going to have it for breakfast tomorrow, but I'll probably put it in the fridge for a little bit, and once it cools off, we'll give it a taste test this afternoon, and then you can know what it tastes like. Although if it tastes half as good as it looks, I think this is going to be really good. So I went out to run a couple of errands this morning. When I first moved into the house, I saw that there was one of these things in one of the corner of the yard. And apparently this is something that kills mosquitoes in the area. And when I first really looked at it, I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But I looked at it about a month ago and realized what it was. And it looked like it had expired. And I kind of had it in the back of my mind to get another one for a while. And I was looking at my Facebook profile this morning and an ad came up for this, and I said, that looks like the thing that was in my backyard. So I decided to do a little bit more searching for it, and turns out I could only find one that I actually could go and pick up in the city of Temple, which is about 30 miles from here. My Home Depot, my Lowe's didn't have it, and Walmart, which supposedly carries it, none of the local Walmarts had it either. So I made a quick trip into Temple this morning and found these. And basically what you do is you fill it up with water up to kind of this level here and kind of shake it and then put it out in the yard. And apparently what this thing does is it kind of fools the mosquitoes. It kind of has the same scent that people and animals have, and attracts them into it. They eat the liquid that's inside and it kills them. So like I said, I ran over and got it. I brought my camera just thinking, you know, well, maybe there'll be something interesting in Temple that I'll see, and we can do that at the same time. Well, I didn't really see anything, so you know, I picked up a couple of these. I'm back home now, and I'm going to install this thing, and hopefully we can get control of the mosquito situation, because it's a little out of hand right now. Anytime I go into the backyard, and I've been in the backyard a lot for the past week, you know, installing things, putting in gardens, putting in you know, lights and all that fun stuff, and I've basically gotten eaten alive. So I want to do something, anything I can, to try and gain control of the mosquito situation. And since the previous neighbors or previous owners used this thing, you know, maybe it'll work. So I'm going to hang this thing up, and we'll move on from there. So the direction for this thing is pretty simple. You supposedly fill it up with warm water, you put the cap back on, you shake it up just to kind of mix everything in, then you replace the cap with a lid that has holes in it and hang a little hook on it, and you put it about 80 feet from where people are. And supposedly, like I said, what happens is the mosquitoes smell that, they think it's a person or an animal, and they go and they drink the fluid, and it kills them. So this is where the previous owners had theirs hung, so it makes sense to do that in the same place. It's a good 80 feet away from where people are going to congregate, so we'll go from there. We'll see if it works. Kind of closely monitoring the water temperature at this point. We're starting to get to the point where hopefully this place will be suitable for human occupancy again. I went in here a couple weeks ago when the temperature was about 80 degrees, and we're getting close to that again. It's 79. I just looked right now. Looks like I got get another string for the thermometer, because the old string broke, and now the thermometer is floating around the pool, so it's not as easy to get at. You got to wait until it goes to the edge of the pool before you can grab it. But you know, hopefully we'll be able to go in this. I might even go in this a little bit today. It's been raining for about the past 10 days, but this is the first day that it hasn't really rained, and it looks like there's no rain in the forecast now for at least the next couple of days, so we'll see what happens. We're definitely getting close to pool use season here, and I'm looking forward to that. And got a little bit of an update here on the tomato plants. Look at the tomato plants, they're going crazy. Look at that one there, that one's big. That one's a good 24 inches tall, and that one in the back there isn't doing bad either. None of these are doing bad. Got a bunch of flowers on those 4 in the back. I think I pretty much lost that one there, although there is a little bit of green there on that one. It's just that plant I think maybe got eaten or something like that, but you can see there's a little bit of life down there, so maybe that one will bounce back too. And of course the weeds are doing good. Jalapenos, on the other hand, are a little bit different story. They're looking a little rough. You know, this, like I said before, this is all going to kind of be an experiment to see what works. None of them are necessarily dead, it's just they aren't growing as well as the tomatoes are. So I don't know, like I said, we'll try this year, and if it doesn't work, we'll try something next year. That's the beauty of it. You can just do whatever you want. Now this is Flash's Cave, and I'm already starting to get a little green growing on top of it. I honestly think that this is what's left over of those pumpkin plant things, or whatever they were that were in the original garden over here. Because I basically just kind of poured them into this little, you know, dumped them into this little part of the yard before, and it looks like maybe they're going to grow on top of Flash's cave. So that's kind of cool. You know, I wanted to have something on top of it just to kind of keep everything together. And if they're growing pumpkins or whatever those things were, all the better. And before Flash comes to visit, I'm going to have to figure out how to move these flagstone pieces because they're still here. This is where they put them when they moved them, and I haven't really had a chance to do much with it since then. This one I tried to move, but this one's got to weigh pretty close to a ton, and I couldn't even get that one tipped up right. So I'm going to have to break that into little pieces before we can move that. Yep, that's coming up some point here. And just a little update of how we're doing in here. Everything in here is very, very happy. It's all done really well. It's really loved the rain over the past about 10 days, and everything is happy and growing. So this thing over here, this is that one little plant that I pulled out that was kind of over here, and I wanted to try and keep it, and it was the one thing that was alive, and even it's doing well. It's even starting to flower a little bit, so yay. All right, it's actually the next morning. I'm getting ready to go to work now. I'm beginning my 3-day week, my short week at work. And we're gonna finally give this thing the taste test. Now, this thing sat in the refrigerator overnight, so I nuked it a little bit in the microwave, but I can tell already this is gonna be good. I remember this from my mom making this in the past, and I know what I'm kind of expecting on this, and this is gonna be pretty good. So let's try this thing out. Oh yeah, that brings back a lot of memories. They're very, very good. I always like a good brown sugar, flavor, and the cranberries are good. They're not too overpowering. Sometimes cranberries can get a little overpowering, but it's really good on this. It's a nice sweet roll. It actually works really well being nuked in the microwave, so definitely recommend this one. I'll put the recipe in the comment section below. Check it out if you're interested, and I think that's all that I have for today. So thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Bon appetit!